Vietnam's central coast woke up to wreckage. Typhoon Kalmaegi roared in with extreme winds, storm surge, and sheets of rain. Power was cut to about 1.6 million customers. Entire neighborhoods flooded, and roofs were torn away in seconds. Tonight, we break down what happened, why it was so destructive, and what comes next for Vietnam and the region. Kalmaegi came ashore along Vietnam's central belt overnight into Friday, slamming coastal provinces from Binh and Phu Yen, then pushing inland toward the central highlands. At first light, reports showed roofs peeled off, power poles snapped, trees blocking roads, and entire blocks underwater. Provincial updates from GLI and Dak Lak confirmed the inland shift and the rapid drop in wind strength after landfall, even as heavy rain and flooding persisted. Vietnam's early toll rose to at least 5 dead, with thousands of homes damaged or destroyed across the central provinces. National updates through Friday morning confirm widespread roof loss, walls collapsed by wind and surge, and whole streets inundated after hours of torrential rain. At the height of the storm, the state utility reported power cut to about 1.6 million customers. Crews restored a significant share by morning, but many neighborhoods still face sagging lines, snapped poles, and flooded substations that slowed restoration. Coastal factories in Binh Dinh reported roof failure and water inside shop floors, which complicates bringing power back safely. Kalmaegi packed a dangerous mix at landfall. Peak winds near the coast were intense, with gusts around typhoon strength driving sheets of rain into coastal wards. Offshore, wave heights built quickly, and onshore water rose above normal tide as the storm pushed in. That combination flips roofs, shreds weaker structures, and drives seawater into streets within minutes. As the center crossed the shoreline and moved inland, friction over land weakened the core winds, but the system stayed a heavy rainmaker. Through the morning, it tracked west-northwest from the central coast across the highlands, then into Cambodia, with forecasters in neighboring Laos warning of continued downpours as the remnant moves on. Important surge note for viewers. Guidance before landfall called for large coastal waves of roughly 4 to 8 meters offshore, and storm surge on the order of 0.3 to 0.6 meters above normal tide in exposed stretches. Local flooding can still be severe when surge, high tide, and intense rain arrive together, even if the surge number looks modest on paper. Kalmaegi's hit on Vietnam came just days after the same system devastated parts of the central Philippines. In Cebu and nearby provinces, flash floods swept through homes and streets, overturning cars and cutting power. By Thursday, the national death toll had climbed to at least 114, with about 127 people still missing and hundreds of thousands evacuated to safer ground while rescue teams worked through debris and high water. Cebu declared emergencies across the hardest-hit districts as crews searched rooflines and riverbanks for survivors and cleared roads for relief convoys. Here, a giant snake was spotted in the floods of Talisay City, Cebu, Philippines. For viewers in Vietnam, this is why the warnings felt urgent. The same circulation that tore across the Visayas re-intensified over warm water in the South China Sea, then pushed into Binh Dinh and Phu Yen with violent surf, heavy rain, and damaging wind before weakening inland. When a storm survives the Philippine archipelago, it can still reload over open sea and deliver a second strike on a new coastline. Rainfall totals climbed incredibly quickly overnight. Forecasts for the Central Belt called for 200 to 400 millimeters in 24 to 48 hours, with local peaks above 600 millimeters from Da Nang across the highlands toward Dak Lak. That kind of rain rapidly saturates rivers and urban drainage, so water has nowhere to go. At the same time, the storm pushed a wind-driven sea onshore with large waves at the coast and a measurable storm surge on vulnerable stretches. Authorities warned that even a surge on the order of half a meter, when combined with high tide and intense rain, can force water back up canals and river mouths and flood streets from the coast inward. Offshore, wave heights were extreme near landfall, adding destructive battering to the flood problem. Put simply, compound flooding did the damage. Heavy rain filled the system from above. Tide and surge raised the baseline from below, and big waves pounded the shoreline. That is why cars were submerged near the coast within minutes, why canals backed up instead of draining, and why low river neighborhoods went under so fast. Safety alerts reinforced these hazards and urged everyone in central provinces to follow local instructions and move early if told to evacuate. Authorities moved early. National and provincial directives triggered mass evacuations in exposed districts along the central coast and into the central highlands. In total, about 300,000 residents were moved out of the most vulnerable zones before landfall, with shelters pre-positioned and supplies staged for flood-prone wards. Harbor masters ordered vessels to remain in port and coastal communities, secured boats and gear as surf built through the night. Military and civil defense units were mobilized to reinforce shelters, clear drains, and stand by for swift water rescues and power restoration once winds eased. Evacuation was the safest choice near the shoreline and along river mouths where surge and fast rain combine. Inland towns received sandbags, generators, and bottled water as officials warned of landslides on saturated slopes. If you live in a low-lying area, wait for the all clear and avoid returning while waters are still moving. Inland weakening does not end the risk. Even as a tropical storm or a depression, Kalmaegi still carries enough moisture to trigger more landslides, swollen rivers, and new flash floods as it travels west-northwest away from Vietnam. Forecast guidance and regional alerts point to the remnant circulation crossing into Cambodia, then moving toward Laos, with outer rain bands brushing parts of Thailand. That means overflowing streams, saturated hillsides, and road washouts can continue well after the wind threat fades. For travelers and families inland, expect delays in changing road conditions. Rivers that looked manageable in the morning can rise quickly in the afternoon as upstream rain drains downslope. Slopes that are held through the night can fail once the soil takes on a little more water. Local authorities in Cambodia and Laos have highlighted these hazards in step with Vietnam's warnings. Keep monitoring official advisories until the remnant exits the region and flood levels begin to recede. Kalmaegi's footprint will feel familiar to communities that have weathered past Central Coast landfalls. Fast rising water, wind-thrown debris, and wide power loss are all hallmarks here. The difference this time is the two-country arc. The same circulation devastated the central Philippines, with the national death toll reaching at least 114 and more than 100 people still missing, then re-intensified over warm water before striking Vietnam. To everyone in Vietnam and the Philippines, our thoughts are with you. Official tallies in Vietnam stand at least 5 lives lost, thousands of homes damaged, and widespread power cuts during the peak. In the Philippines, the toll is far higher, with at least 114 dead and many still missing as recovery continues. We will keep tracking provincial assessments, restoration progress, and the remnant's rain risk as it moves toward Laos and possibly parts of Thailand. Follow verified alerts, check on neighbors, and keep off flooded roads.